I was tired of pretending I was okay. Ghosting was my way of saying I wasn't, without having to admit the depth of my pain. I didn't want to hurt you, but I also didn't want to hurt myself. So I walked away, even when it broke me inside. Sometimes ghosting is the only way to protect your heart. I ghosted you because I didn't have the strength to stay. I was fighting battles you couldn't see, and I needed space to breathe without explaining every scar. I couldn't give you the love you deserved when I was still healing from the scars of my past. Ghosting you was a painful decision, but it was the only way I knew how to protect both of us. I thought I was ready for love, but my past had other plans. Ghosting you wasn't a choice I made lightly, but it was the only way I could save myself from drowning in old wounds. I needed to disappear to gather the pieces of myself that were scattered by things that had nothing to do with you. Ghosting wasn't about running away, it was about finding the strength to heal. There are no easy explanations when it comes to heartache. I ghosted you because I couldn't explain myself, but more importantly, I couldn't explain the pain I was still carrying. Sometimes I wonder if ghosting was the right choice, but then I remember that I had to protect myself. I needed to heal, even if it meant leaving you behind. My past has taught me that you can't always stay in relationships that drain you. I ghosted you because I had to make myself a priority and put my healing first. I didn't want to hurt you by staying when I couldn't give you what you deserved. Ghosting you was my way of walking away before my past mistakes affected your future. I left without explanation because I was too broken to stay. Sometimes people leave not because they want to, but because staying would only hurt more. The decision to ghost wasn't about you, it was about me choosing to heal. My past was too painful to ignore, and I needed time to figure out who I was without all that weight. I disappeared because I was too scared of letting you down. My past had a hold on me, and I didn't want to let it affect something that had the potential to be beautiful. In my silence, I was fighting the battles I couldn't speak about. Ghosting wasn't easy, but it was the only way I could protect myself from the overwhelming emotions of my past. I didn't have the words to tell you why I disappeared, and even if I did, I'm not sure I would have been able to explain the pain inside me. Ghosting was my only way of escaping that chaos. Sometimes the past is a weight too heavy to bear in the present. I ghosted you because I needed to heal before I could let anyone else into my broken heart. I ghosted you because I was suffocating under the weight of my past. It wasn't about you, It was about my need to breathe and find my own way back to peace. I couldn't keep up the facade. I was falling apart, and ghosting you was my way of retreating into the quiet I needed to rebuild myself. I didn't feel guilty for ghosting you because I knew it was the only way I could give myself the space I needed to heal. Sometimes the hardest thing is choosing yourself. I disappeared not out of anger or resentment, but because I had to protect the fragile parts of me that weren't ready for another heartbreak. When you carry pain that no one can see, it's easy to distance yourself from the world. I ghosted you because I couldn't bear to face anyone until I learned how to face myself. The truth is, ghosting wasn't a decision I made lightly. It was born from a need to save myself before I lost everything, including my ability to love. I needed to walk away, not to punish you, but because I couldn't allow my unresolved past to bleed into something that had potential to be pure. I didn't know how to handle the pain, so I ran. Ghosting was my retreat, my way of escaping into solitude to work through the chaos in my heart. I ghosted you because I was afraid of what might happen if I stayed, afraid of letting you into a heart that wasn't ready to love again. There was no closure for me, so I sought it in silence. Ghosting you wasn't about being cruel. It was about healing a soul that had been hurt too many times. It wasn't about you. It was about the storm inside me. I disappeared because I couldn't let you get caught in the aftermath of my personal battles. Sometimes disappearing is the only way to protect the people you love from the darkness inside you. I ghosted you not to hurt you, but to save us both from more pain. I vanished because I was overwhelmed with emotions that I couldn't put into words. Ghosting was my way of trying to regain control over the turmoil within. The hardest part of healing is letting go of people who want to stay. I ghosted you because I knew I had to be alone to heal before I could let anyone else in. I once believed I needed to explain myself to everyone who questioned my actions. But sometimes silence is the clearest answer, and ghosting was my way of protecting the peace I fought so hard to build. The pain I carry from my past shaped the decisions I make today. Ghosting you wasn't about punishing you. It was about me stepping back to heal from a past that still clings to me. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is to walk away, even if they don't understand why. It's not because you don't care, it's because you care enough to let them go so you can fix what's broken inside. I didn't ghost you out of malice. I ghosted you because my scars were louder than my words, and I needed space to breathe without them suffocating me. The weight of my past was too heavy for me to carry, and I couldn't ask you to help me bear it. That's why I distanced myself, because sometimes it's better to be silent than to say things you don't mean. Healing from past wounds takes time, and sometimes ghosting someone is an act of self-preservation. I needed to disappear to find a version of myself that wasn't lost in the hurt. I wish you understood that ghosting wasn't about you. It was about me protecting the little piece I had left. I've learned to keep my distance from things that threaten my healing process. I didn't have the strength to explain myself back then. My pain was so overwhelming that all I could do was retreat and try to gather myself again. I am learning to let go of the people who hurt me, even when they weren't the ones who caused the pain. It's a strange and lonely journey, but ghosting was part of the process. There were moments when I thought about reaching out, but my fear of being misunderstood and rejected by you was stronger. Sometimes disappearing is easier than facing that kind of vulnerability. Ghosting was never about running away from you, but from the emotions that haunted me, from a past that wouldn't let go. I had to leave it all behind, even if it meant leaving you too. I wish I had the words to explain why I disappeared, but sometimes silence is the only language that speaks to the heart. My past was louder than I could speak. Sometimes the most painful thing isn't losing someone, but losing yourself in someone else's love. I ghosted you to find who I truly am, not who I became while holding on to you. I didn't ghost you because I didn't care. I ghosted you because I loved myself enough to walk away from what was no longer healthy for me. It's hard to explain why I couldn't be there for you, but when your own heart is broken, you don't have the energy to fix someone else's. That's why I chose to ghost. I disappeared not because I didn't care, but because I was overwhelmed with emotions I couldn't understand myself. Sometimes disappearing is the only option when you're drowning in your own feelings. I ghosted you because I was too broken to be the person you deserved. I didn't want to give you a piece of me that was incomplete and shattered. It's not that I didn't think about you. It's that I couldn't allow myself to get lost in someone else's needs when I was struggling to meet my own. When your past is full of things you can't erase, it's easy to push people away. Ghosting wasn't an act of cruelty, but a reflection of how much I needed to heal. I've learned that sometimes walking away is an act of self-love, even if it means leaving people behind. Ghosting you was my way of choosing myself for once. You can't pour from an empty cup, and I was empty. That's why I disappeared, because I didn't have anything left to give, not even an explanation. I didn't have the word to make you understand. My silence spoke more than any apology ever could. Ghosting was my way of quietly grieving without dragging you into the storm. In the quiet, I found space to breathe again. I ghosted you because I needed to reclaim my peace and protect my heart from the echoes of my past. I thought I could handle it, but the past came crashing into the present and I couldn't stay. My ghosting was my only way out, my only way to protect what was left of me. Sometimes the people you love are the hardest to walk away from, but I ghosted you because I had to choose myself, even if it meant losing you. There are days when the past refuses to let go, and in those moments, ghosting is the only way to find quiet again. I needed that silence to remember who I was before everything changed. I didn't ghost you out of spite. I did it because I had nothing left to give and everything inside me to protect. My past was too loud and I needed to hear myself think again. When you've been hurt so much, even the smallest risk feels like too much. I ghosted you because I didn't want to drag you into the emotional turmoil I was fighting alone.